Hello Fly Nation and welcome to the Freestyle Your Life podcast, the one and only podcast inspiring you to live your authentic greatness while teaching you that less is more. I'm your host, Aneste Kaller-Zimmermann, and I'm on my mission to help you to be the hero you were meant to be and to live what you came for in life and in business. Remember, the quest we came here for is to discover our true nature, explore our potential and share it by living. Today is to have Donnie Boivin on the pod here, and we share Boivin.
So, there you go.
And we share a lot as we are both podcasters. So Donnie will tell us more about his Success Champs podcast. He's very successful there with ranking 200 in the top 200 iTunes podcast. So I'm just starting out, but I'm far back behind, but I will get you. And,
come on.
And we have also in common that we realize, both of us, that we are living somebody else's life, right? We are not happy. So for my case, I even got ill, very ill. With that sort of life I lived because I thought I had to and whatever thought we have. And then we, both of us struggled, of course, and then we stepped out there, we broke free from all that, right? So you realize, well, that's not the life I want to live. I have to change it. And you started the business, and I obviously started the business. I have two business, and you will share how this went through and how to go big and how to step out and how to become visible and all that. So I'm so happy and honored to have you, Donnie. It's a long time since February as we met in Tampa.
Wow.
Wow. Summit we met, so we know each other personally, but just go ahead and share your story, and it's your stage.
Cool. Right now, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready?
So thanks so much for having me on. It's been a wild ride. I'm a year and a half into business, a little over a year and a half into business right now. And, and the short skinny of it is I spent, 20 years in the sales game. I was a straight commission sales guy the entire run. And the last 7 of those years I spent as a national sales trainer here in the U.S. And it was a lot of fun. I worked for some really large companies. I worked with some small, medium-sized companies. But, I really thought that my destiny was going to be sales and sales training. And that was going to be, kind of just my road. But it was 40 years old when I, was in a partnership. I was in the process of doing a 5-year buyout of my business partner. And, some comments were made. He's a hell of a guy. I still love him to death. But some of the things he said were, I'm so glad you're my retirement plan. And, when those type of statements compounded with, I never fully had bet on myself. I was just good at sales. And I made the crazy decision of my life and jumped out on my own. And, I thought 4 years in the Marine Corps, 20 years of sales, a really good local network, that it was going to be all sunshine and rainbows. And when I started the business, I really thought that everything was going to take off. And that didn't happen. I failed miserably out the gate. I had some successes and some wins, but all those early successes and wins did was give me this false sense of, oh, this is going to work. But I had no business operations models. I had no sales models. It was all over the place. And then I found podcasting. And I tell people, and I love telling people, podcasting saved my business because it taught me procedures, operations, accounting, taught me the business development side of things. And now, and Ernesto, can I cuss on your show? I didn't even ask.
Sorry?
Can I cuss on your show? Because if it slips out, I don't want to. Can I use profanity?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want it to slip out and you go, oh
No,
my
no,
God, he's
no,
got
no, go ahead.
good. So, I got my teeth kicked in, and that's really what happened in my life and business. It's because I wasn't going fucking big enough. I wasn't stepping into it.
Mhm.
And I wasn't spending enough time in my own mind working on me. I was
Right.
just doing what I've always done, with just put my head down and getting to work. Problem
Mhm.
is when you run your own business, the mindset behind it is insane, because
Yes.
you will spend more time with yourself than you will with anybody else. And that, I think, it has been the first time that I've really started looking inward, which
Mhm.
is helped me 150 million times on my
Yeah.
outward stuff. It's
Yeah.
been a fun, crazy ride. And like you said, now I have one of the top podcasts in the world. At the point of this recording, I've stopped taking on new guests because I'm so slammed with new people coming in. Um,
Mhm.
and now,
Congrats on that.
thanks. As the time of this recording, I'm sitting down with John Lee Dumas today and Entrepreneurs on Fire and
I
talking.
love him. I love him. He's my role model. I
He's
mean,
been,
we know each other from Steve Culture, but JLD, I adore him. I just love him. Okay, I learned so much from him.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I've never talked to him, so I'm interviewing him on my podcast. So we'll be
Yeah,
talking this afternoon.
and he's
Um,
hard to get. I swear.
I bet, I'm in a cool spot to where I have just a lot of people coming to the show trying to get on
Mhm.
it. So I kind of get this fun luxury at the moment of picking and choosing, who comes. And
That's
so,
great. That's great.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what, Donnie? You should do the interview at his home in Puerto Rico. He
that
just
would be fun.
made a YouTube video for us, and like with the camera showing around, it's so amazing.
Really.
It's so amazing over there. Anyway, I love the Caribbean. I'm true fan of that. But the new housing and the studio and Kate studio is all in one place. It's not separated office and his home, and it's a dream house. I was totally flashed. Okay, sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no, no
Just
worries. No worries.
popped to
Love it.
my
Love
mind when you said.
it. Yeah. So I'm sorry. What'd you say?
That just popped into my mind when you
Oh,
just
no, no, you're fine.
mentioned
You're fine.
JLD.
And like John, I mean, it was funny when I launched my podcast. I launched an everyday show, and I didn't
Mhm.
know anything about podcasting.
Right.
And I just knew that I had to set a trap for myself. That if I was going to do it, I was going to have to go all out. And I wasn't a listener of podcasts. I just didn't know anything about it. So when I launched my everyday show, I think I was about 20 or 30 episodes in when somebody said, "Hey, do you know John Lee Dumas? Or have you heard of John Lee Dumas, JLD and
Mhm.
Entrepreneurs on Fire?" And I said, "Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about."
Mhm. Oh,
And
really? Okay.
yeah, I thought at the time, I thought I was the only one doing daily shows. I thought that was kind of like this unique thing that set me apart from other podcasters. And then,
Uh-huh.
by the time I discovered John, he was, I don't know, probably 1,200 episodes ahead of me,
It's crazy. It's unbelievable how many
and
he did.
yeah. And, he's turned podcasting into a 7-figure business,
Yeah.
you know,
And he's
um,
so successful. It's incredible.
yeah, and he's humble too. What I like, just from a couple of videos and seeing things that I've seen, which is pretty cool. So, um, once I kind of saw his story, I knew that there was a revenue model to be made. I just didn't know what it was.
Hmm.
Um, and so I, love speaking on stages. That's my thing. Put me in front of a crowd,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna, you know,
You're gonna
win
rock
the
it.
crowd. Yeah, yeah. It's fun. It's fun. And So I really started ramping up my game to really put a revenue model behind the podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
what I tell people is, John's got a unique model where he makes money, from the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tell everybody I make money because of the podcast. And here's the
Mm-hmm.
difference. Is for
Mm-hmm.
me, podcasting is a brand awareness tool, right?
Yeah, for
It's
me
the
too.
discovery tool, and it's building that quote unquote influencer status in the marketplace. And one of the biggest things that I found is it became my number one networking tool,
Yeah,
because I could call up almost anybody and say, "Hey, I have a podcast, happens to be
exactly.
a top 200, or top 200 business category, depending on where it was," and they would take my phone call.
Yes,
You know,
exactly. Exactly. I made the exact same um, just missing the word,
discovery.
discovery, yes, that then you made, and I just love to be surrounded and to talk to like-minded people, right? And podcasters are, especially we under ourselves, they are so open-minded. They just flooding with ideas, right? And they are so flexible to make it possible to take the guest like he is, and to bring everything together so the listener can really have a nice experience out there just from listening, because we are taking this for the summit also. That's why we show up here. But normally podcast is just audio, and if it goes on and it's boring and things, and you're losing sight out there. That's
Mm,
why I always love to have it really, yeah, active and told like storytelling and with examples, because that sticks in the mind of our listeners, right? By the
absolutely.
way, as JLE, he's my hero, and I love him so much because he's so authentic. I'm the authentic girl here with all these topics, and he's just natural. He just shows up with his Hawaiian skirt, whatever, and yeah, he's no need to dress up here, right? I
Yep.
I, I love this color and the yeah, that's why I'm dressing like that very often, right? And it just fits to the picture. That's nice, but well, just be authentic. That's the best thing we can do, right? And
Absolutely.
Fly Nation, I modeled this from him, but I asked him before. So he has Fire Nation, right? So I have the freestyle your life. So this is the fly, and I took the nation. That's what I modeled from him. So
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, here's what's fun is, I keep telling people podcasting saved my business, and it's because it taught me so much. But one of the coolest things that it taught me was that every business needs a voice.
yes,
And what a lot of businesses nowadays aren't looking at is what is the voice of their business.
yeah.
So it was interesting as I continued to find success in the show, and we kept finding unique ways to create revenue from the podcast. I started getting approached by businesses on helping them launch their shows.
Hmm.
And that became a more unique thing because I'd never helped a business launch a show. I'd helped several individuals launch shows. And,
Yes.
that's a little bit easier getting them to pick an avatar and pick, their message, their voice. But when you start looking at a brand, a business
Hmm.
brand,
Hmm.
it became a little bit more tricky for them to splash in the marketplace. And one of the things we found that was just a really, really cool thing was getting them out of their own personal business niche. And so we had companies starting podcasts that had nothing to do with their business. And the
Right.
interesting thing was that since they were doing a show that had nothing to do with their business, they were picking up a ton of new business and new clients
Yes.
because there was a commonality in their avatars and interest and everything else that really started drawing them to their business. So we launched an entire division that's B2B focused, commercial focused, helping companies, launch their podcast and literally giving their business a voice.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We bought a studio here locally, and now we've got people coming in and launching shows. And I don't know, it's just a year and a half ago, if you would have told me that I was going to launch a podcasting company, business, and everything else, I'd have laughed at you.
Yeah.
And now, I'm speaking all over the world on podcasting and how to, grow it into your business and everything. So it's been a fun, wild, and crazy ride so far.
Right. So Donnie, tell us, where are you located just now?
I'm in Fort Worth, Texas.
In Texas. I knew about Texas, but our listeners don't. So right. Yeah, it's I think it's really it's sort of a niche, the whole podcast area. We have so great podcasts from on nearly every topic, and it's a wonderful thing to learn new things just on the go, right? You don't need to sit there and watch the webinar, and you're on your drive to your work or in the gym or whatever you're doing, and just take it with you and get inspired, and that's for the listener out there. And the thing you are doing and monetizing for yourself, right, is to show individuals, and in your case it's businesses, to how to leverage this and how to build it up in the first place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another interesting thing is when I launched my show, I grew up watching inspirational shows and hearing inspirational messages. So I knew when I launched my show that I wanted to interview people about their stories and what they overcame.
Yes.
And what's been cool about that is it's been like a self-paced study course, speaking with all these people about what they've overcome, from the executive to who conquered the world and decided that all the stuff they thought they wanted wasn't what they really wanted, walked away and found themselves in nature, to the people that have overcome tragedies, rape, family members passing away, everything. Yep. And going for it. I've always been on this kind of trip in this road of self-discovery. And it always comes back to a common thing, is the answer is never outside of you. The answer is 100% inside of you. And that has been fun because when you hear basically the same thing 200 times, because that's how many interviews I've got out there right now, you start chipping away at your own self-doubt, your own disbeliefs and everything else, and you start stepping in and learning this stuff. So I got really good at interviewing people and hearing some amazing stories, and I still think I'm one of the best interviewers in the world. But I will tell you, sitting with my coach one day, he looked at me and he said, "Donnie, what is your goal with this whole podcasting thing? What are you really trying to do?" And I said, "Well, my mission is I want to be on big stages, in front of large rooms, inspiring people to get out of their own damn way, and so they can build their own, destiny, their own business, whatever it is." And he goes, "That's awesome. But you realize every time you interview somebody, you're making them look awesome. And it's not doing a whole lot to establish your brand as a speaker, as an educator, those type of things." So with that, I decided to, because I decided, he was right. So I'm launching another podcast right now called Donnie Talks.
Mm-hmm.
and where I get to just do what I love to do, and I'll be ranting 20 to 30 minutes once a week, maybe sometimes twice a week, but 100% build off of my audience of success champions
Mm-hmm.
that follow and listen to the show. They are constantly throwing me content and ideas of things to talk about. So it'll be a fun podcast, literally centered around people stepping into themselves and getting out of their own way. So that's the new fun adventure, and it's really based off of those last 20, 22 years of my life. Figuring out me, and now I get a chance to have my own platform to help others figure themselves out. So it,
Right.
it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Donnie, totally agrees. It's always an inside job, and the reason I named my company here, Freestyle Your Life, which means free yourself, break free from whatever sucks, could be a work partnership, a work relationship, whatever is obviously is not good for you and not your life, like we discovered, and freestyle life on own authentic terms, right? And so such a big uh, uh, um, um, uh, part of it, I will name it part of it. It's a whole, but it's a real part of it. Big part of it is not others holding us back, but it's ourselves, right? So
Yes.
it's self-sabotage processes, right? From the mindset, from the emotion, how we pursue things, and all the perceptions and beliefs and whatever. And that's an inside job, right? So nobody really has something to do with it, right? That's the first step.
Yep.
And then, well, to step out of the comfort zone, like what you told us before, you played safe and small, right? Yeah, there is no loop of growth if we stay there, right? So this is
Yes.
all known and familiar and that, but growth and real success and yeah, getting sort of hard knocks, and I learned it really from the school of hard knocks. But that's what is challenging and what is pushing us forward, right? To
Yeah.
stay in the old place for 50 years, there is no growth, right?
Yeah. That's a great point because, I've been one of the, I mean, I had a tremendous sales career, sold millions and millions and millions of dollars. Excuse me. And, the interesting thing was all that time. I mean, for me, I didn't realize I was living other people's dreams. I didn't realize I was living other people's stories. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, if you would have asked me during any of those years, I would have told you I was a huge risk taker. I would have told you that I'm constantly betting on myself. I'd have told you that I knew myself intimately because I was
Mm-hmm.
ignorant enough to think that I did.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I launched my own business
Mm-hmm.
until I realized that I didn't know who the hell I actually was.
Yeah.
I never really went all in on me. I mean, it was interesting for me to really discover that I'd never really taken a huge risk in my life. I
Mm.
always just took what was in front of me,
Yeah.
from career choices to, jobs, clients, the way I lived, everything was just the next step in life. And it wasn't, me trying to create a life.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I launched my business, I mean, I remember the day I drove home, I broke down in complete tears, and I'm not that big of a crier. And it's because I realized, holy shit, it's all on me. I have no revenue coming in whatsoever. I've
Mm-hmm.
got to figure this out. And, about the time I was hitting rock bottom with my business,
Mm-hmm.
um, is when I really started understanding that the guy I currently was
Mm-hmm.
not the guy I needed to be to get where I wanted to go.
That's the point. Yes,
right?
that's the
So
point. Mm,
I had to start leveling up. I had to start taking bigger risk. I mean, I took the biggest risk in my life at that point by starting my own company. But
mm-hmm.
now I had to start stepping into my fears, and the fears were, okay, I had to figure out operations. I had to figure out, what my business process was, and I had to really start betting on me. And the more I kept stepping into that fear,
Mm-hmm.
the more the world started making sense.
Mm,
And I don't want to tell anybody ever that it was easy.
mm,
Um, but it's gotten more understandable on the things I need to do to continue to build the world I'm building. And I think for people in general, just kind of a valuable takeaway is you really have got to do the things that scare the pure living shit out of you. You got to
mm,
step into those fears, because
mm.
it's not about facing the fear. It's about who you become during the process of stepping into that fear. It's about
Yeah,
evolving into a greater version of yourself.
right.
And that's been the game changer for me, is upping my game. This isn't my original thought, but I don't know who said it. But they said, when life gets tough, it's not because you got dealt a bad card or anything else. It means you just leveled up, and now you
Mm,
got to learn that level from the starting point. You know,
right.
the cool thing is you still have all the skills, and you still have all the knowledge, you still have all the weapons and the tools that you had, but now you've hit the new level. You just got to learn this level again. And
And play it. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's been a fun learning experience,
Mm-hmm.
along the ride. But the other biggest thing that I've been focused on tremendously recently is changing the story I tell myself.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
because
key.
yeah, because being a business owner is a very tough thing to do. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of mental game,
Mm,
you better be ready to learn a ton about yourself. And I know early on, I kept telling myself things like, "I'm not a good business owner. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't figure this out." And I kept creating that scenario in my life every time I said it. Because we become the stories we tell ourselves.
right.
You
Totally.
know, so what I've been learning to do is to quit listening to that negative gremlin in my head, and started manifesting my story by constantly reminding myself, I am a business owner. I am learning these things. I am growing. I am, adding revenue
Mm,
streams. And it's amazing the reprogramming that's happened, simply by changing the dialect, in
mm,
my own head, and teaching others to do the same. It's been fun, man. I've really enjoyed this portion of the journey.
right. I totally relate, Donnie. And it's also embracing the suck, right? So we
Yes.
we as entrepreneurs, but it is hard, right? And we just don't have the podcasting like take our example here. That's fun to talk, right? But there's all the invitations and all the technical stuff. I'm not the technical girl at all. I just don't like it. I could talk for day and night, but on the technical stuff, it just doesn't turn me on.
Right.
I'm very aesthetic there, and I have outsourced it. I have my technical assistant do it because he's great at it. He loves to do it, and I hate it. So what I did more and more is technical stuff and math and taxes. These are the three most things I just don't like them. Uh, say hate it, and that's what I outsourced, right? So because that's not at all a zone of genius for me, and not even that, but it 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 puts me down. My energy is getting really fucked up, and coming down if I have to do it, right? So this is totally nonsense to keep on doing that. So
Absolutely.
I should do whatever I enjoy, and this is with people and talking and traveling, whatever. But inside the office, sitting here, I just don't like it, right? And so we need to come there, whatever. First, of course, we need to discover what is great for us, where are our strengths and what we love to do, and then do more of that and
Yes.
less of the shit we don't like, right? Because this is draining the energy.
Yeah, absolutely. The weird thing that I discovered was I wasn't a good leader in my business because I was trying to do everything like you were talking about, right? There's we can take it just a podcasting, not even running a business, but there is a lot of things in podcasting you need to do to be successful. You've got to find, if you're doing interviews, you got to find a guest, you got to
Yeah,
do the interview, somebody's got to, edit the interview, you got to put it out, then all the marketing pieces. I mean, there's a lot to
right.
it.
Yeah,
And um, when I first launched my show, I don't know if you did the same thing, but when I first launched mine, I was doing it all,
mm,
every portion of it because I didn't know what I didn't know.
mm,
And I tell people that, in a year and a half of my business, I've fired 6 different marketing companies, and
mm-hmm,
it's all my fault.
mm-hmm,
And I don't think I've ever hired a bad marketing company.
mm.
I think I have had the inability to tell them exactly what I was looking for and what I needed,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's been really interesting as I've worked with virtual assistants, as I've worked with vendors, is I don't think I've had anybody who was just really bad at what they did. I just couldn't communicate effectively what I needed done, and
Mm-hmm,
it took me a little while to discover. I don't think I was through my 4th marketing company, before I was like, okay, look, all these companies can't be bad. There's only one
mm,
common denominator with them all, and it's got to be me.
mm,
So I went to work on me, and you know, once I realized that it wasn't their fault, it was my own. Um, the dynamics of working with them changed tremendously.
mm-hmm.
And I've got some phenomenal assets that I work with in my business. Lorianne Vaughn Speaks helps me with a lot of my admin stuff, a lot of the back end
Mm-hmm.
stuff. She's helped me write my book. From an editing standpoint, I've got
Mm. I'm just
Lord.
about to work with her. I just had
Oh,
her on the flight path, and as I'm working, my book is coming out at the end of the year, and we just figured out how we could work together.
that's awesome. She's awesome. And then, Laura DeFranco is my ghostwriter. I mean, I write a good portion of everything I do. She just makes it right. Because
Mm-hmm.
writing is not a phenomenal strength of mine. I'm decent at it.
Mm-hmm.
She really gets my voice and puts it out there. Um,
What's her
you
name?
know, Laura DeFranco,
Uh-huh.
and
You could put it in into the Facebook Messenger for me.
yeah, I can absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She is a former physical therapist that became a healer, and
Mm-hmm.
she does these beautiful live poetry readings. Well, I launched a division inside of my company because to help people get social content. Because what I realized, and this was the first way we monetized my podcast, was I would do interviews just like we're doing here,
Yes.
and realizing that I'm sitting on an hour's worth of content for somebody. So I put together a team of videographers, graphic designers, Laura doing copywriting. And what we did is we started taking the video from the podcast and we started chopping it up into social content for people. So, like this interview, I would pull me out of the videos, zoom in on the individual, and we'd make micro content for Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We'd put music, logos, and branding to it, and they'd get 4 blog articles, 4 social graphics, and we take it, and I literally start bundling it up and handle it back to people. So we launched this whole content development portion of our business.
Oh, but let me intervene for a second. But normally the podcasters just don't take it on video. They just have it on audio, right?
No, most people do it via Zoom, just like we are.
But they don't use the video.
Well, here's an interesting thing is I hadn't been. Now, when I launched Donnie Talks, it's going to be a video cast that I'm going to scrub the audio to put to podcast. Now, because here's why. A new study came out. It's the first time in the history of iTunes and podcasting. The study just released says that more people listen to podcasts on YouTube than any other channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and looked at my numbers. And I don't have a lot of followers on YouTube, but
Mm-hmm.
only things I put out there are, the audio version of my podcast with a, picture out there. And I've got 20 to 50 people downloading the podcast every time it comes out on YouTube.
Oh,
So,
come on, that is new for me, right?
yep. So what I'm going to be doing for Donnie Talks is I'm actually going to do a video version and do its own YouTube channel. And then once I do that, I will just pull the audio and push it straight to a podcast. And then also have the podcast transcribed into a blog post, and then have the memes created and the quotes created. And basically the entire show will become, every week will become a different marketing series and hit a different platform.
Uh-huh. And you repurpose all the content, right?
Absolutely.
So my idea was originally I'm a fan of summits, so that's why of course I need the video, and then this would have been last year. Then I got hacked so badly. That's why my German site is off now, and I couldn't move forward with the videos because my whole system here crashed, and nearly was by the police every day, but they couldn't do anything about it. So that was really cracks on the work there. And but I'm a Capricorn. I'm an entrepreneur, so I will never give up. This was very challenging, but I'm here more visible than ever. And but it's challenging, and we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yes,
so
true.
My intention was to do the summit, of course, with Zoom, and to have the interviews there on video, and then besides that, do it on my video channel, which is almost the same. So I have one recording, right? I can repurpose it on both channels. And what else came into play? So the experts I have here, they show up once, and they are featured twice on the pod, on the YouTube, even 3 times, and on the YouTube channel, on the television channel, so to say, and on the summit, on the pod. So that's what I think how we need to work. And of course, I can also give it back to the experts, to clients, right? So I have the original version here of this video, and of course I can give it to you, and you spread it in your audience, right?
Right. Absolutely.
For your purpose, because it's a testimonial for yourself. This is how I think.
Yeah, no, it's smart. I mean, when we launched the content development company, to put it in lines, is I kept having a lot of people saying things like, I know I need social content. I know I need, stuff out there. I just don't know what to put. So when we started coming up and helping people create, you show up for one recording. So I've got a gal that I work with out of California. Her name's Lucinda White, and she's a bone healer. And I was talking to her, and now we produce all of her videos for her. But what we do is once a month, Lucinda and I sit down, we sit on a Zoom call, and then we start producing content for her. And all I do is just interview her in there. So it all
Yeah.
stemmed from the podcast, you know, of doing content. But what people kept telling me was they aren't great in front of cameras, right? When you put a camera in front of somebody, they get nervous. They don't really want to write a lot of things, this, that, and the other. So having this in a conversation and then scrubbing that into content just made life really easy. And, you know, that's how one of the ways we also upped our what we were doing with the podcast marketing wise was constantly churning out all this content on a regular basis. And you know, people always ask me, you know, how did my downloads go so big so fast? How did my show get? And that came down to the marketing machine we built. you
Mm-hmm.
know every episode got promoted multiple times on multiple platforms, and
Yes.
just kept churning because of all the things we were doing. And I learned really, really quickly that some people like Facebook, some people like Instagram, some people
Right.
like YouTube,
Right.
some people like LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever else.
Yeah.
And you've got to put the content on the right, platform for them.
Right.
So that's
Yeah, because
what.
everybody's thinking different, right?
Yep.
So some people are visual and others don't, and yeah, to spread it everywhere. So you appropriate for everybody, right?
Yes. Yes. And it's really solidified the thought process that marketing is what you say you do, branding is what everybody else says you do. So when I work for, individuals and helping them launch their stuff, or I'm working with businesses, the number one question we constantly ask is, what do you want everybody else to say about your brand? What do you want everybody else to say about you and your company?
Mm-hmm.
And then we try and design the content around that message,
Yes. Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, and
That's great. So in my experience, most of the experts, they just love it to be featured in several on several channels here, but just show up once, and there are maybe a handful. Some they are worried about their hair, their whatever, and well, it's okay. I don't. I ask everybody, like the guest, right? Do you wanna be featured everywhere? Because this is my normal thing. But if somebody doesn't like it, just wants to be on audio, fine with me. I don't have no problem. It's just an
right.
offer. Oh, my dog is just coming here. Can you see
That's all right.
her?
I can now. What is she? What breed is she?
She's a Labrador Podenco.
A Labrador what?
Podenco, Spanish
What?
hunting dog.
Oh, very cool. Big girl. Big girl.
Yeah, she's a very good girl.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I have a farm, girl, so I've got ducks, goats,
Come here.
chickens, rabbits. I think we're up to 12 goats right now, 37 chickens, 5 ducks. I think on the farm.
Horses also?
No horses, no
No.
horses. They're a lot of upkeep. But we got, I think 7 dogs on the property, 4 cats.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a petting zoo.
Because Texas is the dog, the horse country, right?
I love that. I mean, every time I go travel overseas and I say I'm from Texas, they're like, "Oh, where's your cowboy hat?" And I'm like, "Well, I got the boots, but there is a lot of horse." But it's my city, Fort Worth, is known more for cattle than it is for horses. We get a lot of cattle through there, but same token, we're the 15th largest city in the U.S. Or a major, metropolis or metroplex, excuse me, metropolis, and a huge commerce. Some of the biggest companies in the world are headquartered out of here. So I just happen to have a farm out and away from everybody because my wife and I enjoy just getting away.
Yeah.
from it all. And our farm is our sanctuary, because you don't even make it down my road unless you know that you're coming to my house, because we are definitely off the beaten path. And yeah, that's fun. It's like, this weekend we were working on goat barns and outbuildings and, fixing fences and everything else. And then, Monday comes and I'm doing business as usual, talking to you first thing this morning for us. And,
Yeah, that's very good idea.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It gives me a forced balance in my life. When you have the responsibility of so many animals like we do,
Hmm.
there's no sleeping in. There's no, oh, they'll take care of themselves. No, you got to go out and muck stalls and feed the animals and take care of them. And we love the fact that we chose this lifestyle of doing both, because I was running, a very successful, sales training company at this point, when we bought the farm. And,
Hmm.
we knew then this was going to be our forever home. And we also knew that it was going to be two full-time careers, you
Hmm.
know, running the business, running the farm, and her running, she manages a vet clinic, a
Oh,
veterinarian
okay.
clinic. And so her full-time career, my full-time company, and plus running the farm, we just knew we were always gonna be running and gunning. But it keeps a cool balance, because when we're working on the farm, her and I are working together, you
Hmm.
know and we get to spend some cool time together. So it forms a really, really, really cool forced balance, because you don't get to just have a Sunday where you sit around and do nothing all day. There's always
Hmm.
something to do on the farm. So it's fun. It's fun. We love
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah, and if you like it, right, Donnie, I really believe that we should do something, whatever makes us feel vibrant, right?
Absolutely.
What we love. So me, I'm a lot about animals, and I'm dreaming of building a farm to build an elderly home for animals to just to be able to grow old. So my dog here, I have her for 10 years now, and she is right off a killing station, gas killing station in Spain. She's a Spanish girl. So they have too many dogs on the street there in Spain, and they just collect them and put them into a room 100 wide and put the gas on,
Yeah.
and 1 second, all of the 100 dogs are killed, right? So when
Oh,
I got her, I saved her from there with the ear cut, with the tail cut, with injured everywhere, and terrible. Yeah, people do shit like that. I just don't know.
that's
So
disgusting.
I'm sort of such a helping person, and my heart beats for animals.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Huh. I don't even understand that. I mean, there's got to be other answers.
Yeah.
Has to be other answers. I don't know what they are, but holy wow, holy wow. I it hurts to even think about that. But two, why that's the answer is frustrating to me.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
it's totally, for me, it's just unbelievable, but it doesn't make sense to close the eye. It's just like it is, right?
Right.
So, and
Right.
I cannot save all the animals out there. So I would, yeah, I consider it sort of my dream and the responsibility to put there some effort. Right now, I don't have time. I just can cope for her, but that's what is in my mind for the future. So I
No,
totally
but
relate to being on a farm. And
but this is your rodeo and your chance to create that reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will. Actually,
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure I
believe that. I
will.
believe that. I believe that. Oh, I think as long as everybody has a vision that's big enough, and they have, you know, the desire to really get out of their own way, step into their greatness, and start becoming the person that their fans already think they are,
Yes.
then greatness can be achieved, you know. But I also understand that it's not about how hard you can hit life. It's about how hard you can take a hit and keep moving
Mm-hmm.
forward. Great
Mm-hmm.
words by Rocky Balboa, right? Um, and I think most people would start down the path you're going on, and they would get hit one time and then they would stop. But I
Mm-hmm.
think you've got enough grit and enough tenacity and enough gumption that you got no problem, you know, changing the world, you know, from your point of view to
Yeah.
and creating and manifesting all your greatness. I look forward to watching that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm used to the school of hard knocks, so I'm used to that. And otherwise, well, sort of getting boring, right? I'm not the person to sit in one place and to sit in one seat for my whole life. I'm just not the person for that will be boring for me, right? So
Right.
I'm always once business is running or whatever, yeah, I'm looking for other ideas to come into my step into even wider greatness.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
So that was incredible, Donnie. And let me thank you for the 30-minute consultation you offered for listeners as they can win prizes here on the Fly podcast. So you will chat with them once they are setting up a podcast and
Absolutely.
giving them tips on how to do that. And I'd be grateful for some tips of you too.
Anytime you want it. Anytime.
Whenever you see, sometimes, yeah, I'm doing my best here, but you have much more experience, right? That doesn't, yeah, you just know what you know, right?
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
So we come back to the beginning, and that's exactly what it is, right? And I always think to ask is one of the best things we can do, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
And because then we can learn, we can improve, we give others the feeling of being yeah, challenged and seen and heard and everything, not only like considering you as a mentor for podcasting for me now, but in friends, family, everybody. So asking for help, I did need to learn that because I never did.
Right.
And then actually, I was running two businesses and being a single mom who's two sons and the dogs, and yeah, it's just too much. It just wasn't possible, right? So then I had to learn to ask, right? Before I managed sort of, but yeah, that's what my learning experience was, right? And
And
it's totally okay to ask, right?
100%. And I will tell you that the biggest names in the world, I mean, I'll leave it to the biggest names in the world that I've interviewed, all will tell you one thing. You never make it to whatever you determine as greatness by yourself.
Yes.
Everybody's got a coach, a mentor,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's got somebody that they go to.
Yeah.
You know, even crazy guys like Gary Vee and Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, they all have somebody they go to. They are not
Right.
doing all these things on their own, no matter how they put their perception out there.
Yeah,
You know,
and it's a total misbelief. That's exactly how it is. The most important people, they also all themselves have mentors, right?
yep,
So kick off of the podcast is with Corey Poirier, and we both, of course, know him personally, and he's a TEDx speaker and a podcast colleague running 2 podcasts and TEDx speaker and famous author and everything. And he will talk about his new book, The Why and the How. So nearly almost 5,000 successful people and CEOs, whatever, big names he interviewed to find out what is the success principle behind. And it's so interesting what came out there, and on what topics they concentrate, so they don't start their day with reacting on other people's agenda, for example, right? Or not everybody can rush just into the office, so they have barriers there, and all these things they set up to be even more successful. And all of the really highly successful people, they themselves have mentors and coaches, right? Yep. Who are better in this particular area, and that's the only way you really can step ahead, right?
Absolutely.
To be high performing. So I'm a fan of high performing, not just doing mediocre things, but being good. And I'm in Brendan Burchard's academy, so he's a high performance coach, and Darren Hardy, and they are on that thing, right? Because if you're just doing okay and getting around and it's okay, later on, will this be the life you want to have lived, right?
Yep.
Or will it be like the two of us to realize, that's not what I want to live, right? And I need to do different things. Mustn't be starting a business like we did. After studying, I was with 2 companies, but I was key accountant. So the company was in Switzerland and I was in Frankfurt area. So I always had my home office and was responsible for half part of Germany. And the company was far away. So twice or 3 or 5 times a year we went there. We flew there for marketing strategic sessions, but the company was far away. I was never in a company each day going 9 to 5 to work. Right. I wouldn't be the person, right?
Right.
That would not be possible for me. So I love the flexibility and set my schedule and lovely weather here, take my dog for a walk or go for a round of golf or whatever. So that's what we do, what we need to do more, right?
Absolutely.
And then afterwards we're really refreshed because we cannot work all day sitting there. Will not be the focus we need for creative ideas and things, right? So
absolutely.
That there's so many things that come into play, and having a mentor and somebody who is really in this topic and it's successful, like you for me on the podcasting scene, that's crucial, right?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I can tell you that for the longest time I avoided coaches. I mean, I've had a coach seemingly my entire career, but there's a lot of times I've avoided it. And
really,
yep, ego gets in the way.
Okay.
You know, and when I've gotten success in some arenas, I was cocky enough to believe that I had done it on my own. And I'm like, why the hell am I paying all these people when I can just do it? And every time I've stepped away from that mentor, that coach, or that person, I've can track the downfall of that year, that month, that quarter, that company.
Mm-hmm.
Always it's you know there's already somebody who's carved the path. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just
That's
need
it.
to follow the
That's it.
footsteps of somebody else.
In this particular field, and it's important that somebody has done uh, what he preaches, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in me, I admire all my coaches, and I had so many of them because I think that's the way to leverage and to really to learn and to grow. And I have fantastic, still have. For example, T. Half Acre was one of my quantum leap coaches, or Brandon, Darren, right? And we can learn so much of them. So my long term coach all my life is Brian Tracy.
Mm.
So he's my stage coach. He's my book coach. He was my sales coach in former times, and also personal development coach. So yeah, because he's just a hero in the scene, right? So he's there for so long, over 80 books written, right? And so if he doesn't have the system, who in the world could have it, right?
Right.
Having written over 80 books. So I just love him. And he's doing it. He mustn't work. He doesn't have to work, right? He's just doing it because he just loves what he does, right? And well, that's the key point, to find somebody if it is personal development who had similar struggles, right? And
Yes.
like us, and stepped into business or realized the process of transformation, and who did it, him or herself, before, right? That's essential. So
Absolutely.
that will show up if you just having been read a book about it, or like if we went to the school of hard knocks and own struggles and realization and transformation process. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why we can give it to others, right? As you
Exactly right.
mentioned. So that's key.
Yeah.
I think we shared a lot today, Donnie, and my explanation could really get some takeaways here. And I will mention everything in the show notes. So sometimes I just, if there's a really highlighting sentence or whatever, I just write it down so I can recap it and put it in the show notes.
Well, I brought
And
3 gifts for your audience, if that's okay.
oh,
Three.
wow, I'm flashed. Go
Yes.
ahead.
So if they go to my website, donnieboivin.com,
Yes.
/ free stuff,
Yes.
on there, they will get my ebook. The ebook is called "That's Not How You Journal, Jackass." It's where I teach journaling, and how
Okay.
journaling's helped me out tremendously. They'll get a workbook on how to find their strengths. So I take them
Okay.
through a very cool process that I learned. I don't believe on focusing on your weaknesses. I'm 100%. Let's find your strengths, double down on those, and get after it.
Yeah, totally agree.
And then there's an entire workbook on how to play offense in your life. Most people are moving through life trying to protect what they have
Yeah.
versus going after and creating the life they've always wanted. So if they
Yeah.
want those things, go hang out at the website. And they're more than welcome to all 3 of those, combination of those. And like we already said, if you want a free half-hour consulting, I'm happy to do that. To anybody on the show, if they want to hear me rant on a regular basis, I've got a free Facebook group called Donnie Success Champions.
Yeah.
Same name of the podcast. And then if you want to learn about podcasting, I have a free Facebook group called So you want a podcast. And in there, I teach podcasting on a regular basis and a lot of tips and tricks and things that I've done to make my show successful.
Please say again the last one, the others, no, the last Facebook word. So you what?
Want to podcast.
So you want to podcast. I don't know this one.
Yep.
Podcast. Okay, these are 2 Facebook groups, right?
Yep.
Okay. That's brilliant. I'm so grateful
Absolutely.
for your gift here. And I will mention that everything there. And yeah, I'm honored to have you.
Thank you
for
so much.
sharing so much experience and knowledge and wisdom here with us.
No, my honor, girl. I've really enjoyed this. Well done. Keep going. This is going to be a very popular show. I love your style. I love your energy. I love what you're doing, girl. Keep it up.
All right. So do me a favor and just stay for a second.
Absolutely.
And we wrap it up. So, Fly Nation, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Donnie today. I think it was really authentic, and he shared so much of his own struggle and his own stories, and that's how we can learn, right? So that's how we can relate and how we can feel the other person, and really how we can model things, and that was so great to have you. So take weight will be on the show notes, and have a great day. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening in. I hope you got new inspiration to seek help and surrender to love no matter what situation you're in. Hopefully you could take away that transformation is possible. By getting the right support, you can embrace life joyfully and enjoy your life on your own authentic terms. Please rate and review the Freestyle Your Life podcast on freestyle-your-life.com/podcast if you like today's talk, and make sure you qualify for the amazing I Love to Fly podcast giveaway by subscribing and referring 3 friends to the Freestyle Your Life podcast. All experts and myself are happy to assist and support you. Just reach out to us. Thanks for joining us today, and don't forget to tune in next Thursday and listen in to your next inspiration on how to freestyle your life. You will learn another priceless shortcut on how to break free and restyle your life on your own authentic terms. Becoming authentically you will ease your life and business. Remember, Fly Nation, break free and fly. Looking forward to talk to you next Thursday. Bye.